Hi, it's Simon Little from Simple Online Marketing here, and I'd like to thank you for watching this video replay of a presentation that was delivered at the Business Club in Peterborough on Monday the 4th of July. The presentation was entitled Social Media Revealed, and the simple aim was to make you think differently about social media. Now, social media is a big buzz term. I'm sure you've heard lots about it, both in a business sense and also in sort of a general life sense related to maybe politics, sport, and various other things. But while social media is a popular word or words, and while people do talk about social media a lot, and many people don't really understand what it is, they don't know how to define it. Certainly many business owners don't know how to use it, how it can benefit their business, how they can use it to serve more customers and make more profits. So hopefully I want to explain a little bit about what social media is and make it simpler for you to understand social media. And the second thing I want to do is encourage you to act on this new knowledge, because we can always learn about new stuff, and it's great to know about new technology, it's great to know about advancements, it's great to expand our minds and think about things we could be doing that would help us improve our business. But of course, none of that is really any use unless we actually do something, unless we actually take action. So what I also want to do is encourage you to act on what we talk about in this presentation. So to outline it in a bit more detail, what we're going to run through, just so you know what's going to be covered. And we're going to talk about what social media is and how it's developed, both in terms of both in terms of what it's developed from and what it's going to develop towards in the future. We'll talk about why social media is so popular both in business, as I said, and life in general, and why it is so important for your business, and why it's important that you start taking some action now. I want to talk a little bit about why I think you have a huge advantage over big business as a small business owner and entrepreneur, and what you can do with that advantage. In fact, generally what you can be using social media for. And then lastly, as I said to you, I want to talk about what you need to do next, and just help you decide how to move forward with your social media targets. We'll be talking about social media targets, we'll be talking about how to set social media goals, and we'll be talking about how to measure your activity on social media so that you can start to understand things like your return on investment in social media. Okay, so let's start with that first point. We're going to talk a bit, quite extensively really, about what social media is, because I think it's often not explained very well to people what social media is. And firstly, there's often a perception that social media is just Facebook and Twitter, and it's very much not the case. Although social networking, as these two sites are, is a big part of social media, it's not the be-all and end-all. Social media is far more fully encompassing than that. Social media is also an evolution. I've heard many people describe social media as a revolution, and maybe you've heard it described as a revolution yourself, but I think that's absolutely not the case. I really do think that social media is just an evolution, and I want to talk to you a bit more about why I think that in a moment. And finally, I think social media is an essential for your business. I mean, I passionately believe that if you're not using social media, within the next 3 to 5 years, your business is going to start to seriously suffer. I mean, we've come out of difficult economic times in the last couple of years, and businesses have been finding things more difficult and are becoming more conscious of being careful and finding the best ways to promote their businesses, and promote their message, and to serve people. And social media very much is that phenomenon. It's something that you need to be taking on board now, and starting to to learn and implement now. Certainly before everybody else cascades on board and suddenly you find that you're trying to chase the market rather than being in the position of maybe being a pioneer and a bit of a market leader, and somebody who's really taking advantage of social media to do the best they can for their business. So I talked about how social media was an evolution. And if we think about the way we communicate as people, when we'd have very first communicated with people, it would have been face to face. We were originally tribes of people sitting around campfires or whatever else. And that's still the way that a lot of business is conducted, through face-to-face meetings. Now, face-to-face has a heck of a lot of advantages, especially the fact that you can build a much deeper bond with somebody when you're meeting them, particularly one-to-one and face-to-face. Simply because when you're in person, somebody can hear your voice, see your gesticulations, can watch your expressions. There might be contact, and they can learn through your body language and all these sorts of things. So face to face has a massive, there's massive benefits in face-to-face meeting because of the depth of communication that's possible. But of course, it has disadvantages in the sense that you can't be in more places than once, and also you can't really meet more than a few people and still keep that depth of bond. I mean, obviously, you imagine if you meet one-to-one, you build a very strong bond with. But if you're speaking in front of, say, a few hundred people, it's going to be very difficult for those people to have the same sort of to feel the same sort of bond with you. And then we move on, and we created signs and symbols, and we wrote to each other, and that's what we do in business. And letters are wonderful because now it's not dependent on us being in the same place as somebody else. We can write to people and communicate over vast distances while staying in the same place. And we can also multiply our message quite easily by getting it copied. So we reduce the time, energy, effort, commitment, the travel, commitment and time to go and meet people, and we can also multiply our message. But of course, writing loses some impact. It's difficult to communicate. Well, it's impossible to communicate the same level of emotion in writing as you might do in person. So technology rolls us on from there to the phone, and now we can talk to each other. So it's got many of the advantages of writing a letter, except now we get some of that depth of bond back, in the same way that while you're watching this video replay of the presentation, you can hear me speaking, and you get a sense of my tone, you get a sense of the passion I have for the subject. You can hear at which points I speed up or slow down, and we have a better connection because of that. Whereas if I'd have just put the presentation up as a slideshow with maybe some notes trying to explain some of this stuff, it might have communicated the message or a message, but it probably wouldn't have done so anywhere near so strongly as if you can actually hear me talk about the subject. And then the next movement after the telephone, of course, we get computers, and now we've got email. And now we can write to each other over vast distances. We can multiply this message by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, with very little, if any, additional cost. We can email attachments and so on. So it's a phenomenon, really, this email, and it massively changed business. I'm sure you use email in your business, and you couldn't imagine not using email in your business now. But is it? For all that it's a phenomenon and it's a fantastic thing for business, is it a revolution? It's not. Email is just an evolution of writing letters. It's technology taking a form of communication that we already had and improving it, advancing it. And that's very much the same with social media. Social media is the wired web where we're all linked in together now, and we all share all this information, and we can all communicate with each other in all these ways that you can see in front of you right now. We can video conference to be one-to-one with people, or just video record so that many people can see a message and still feel like they're getting a very personal message tailored to them. We can use social media to communicate by writing. We can use Skype to communicate over vast distances very cheaply and pretty much replace the telephone. We've got different types of text communication: instant chat and longer chat, blogging, and so on and so forth. So social media is the evolution of the way we communicate through technology. That's all it is. It's this big wired web that we're all connected into. We're plugged into this information superhighway, and we can communicate with each other. We can share material. We can share information. We can talk about what we're interested in, what we're passionate about. And in fact, of course, I say it's a wired web, but it's not it's not just a wired web, is it? The majority, in fact, now of social media activity takes place through mobile devices and smartphones. I should share very quickly with you a couple of numbers that I find incredible. 200 million. Facebook currently has 550 to 600 million users. A phenomenal number. It's the biggest social networking site by a comfortable distance at the moment. Now, around half of those users, 50% according to Facebook, log in every day to the service, so that's about 275 to 300 million people. 200 million is the number of people who log into Facebook every day using a mobile, smartphone or tablet device. Now, so that's 2/3 of Facebook users who are logging in every day. The regular Facebook users are logging in, over 2/3 are logging in using their mobile and smart and tablet devices. Now that's a massive shift in the way people are using the internet. Certainly something that we as business owners have to be very, very aware of. This other number, 68%, is from a study conducted by Nielsen in the last couple of months, and they discovered that 68% was the number of smartphone and tablet users who use those devices while watching the television. This is a phenomenon known as dual screening, or it's sometimes coined as sofalizing. Now, what I find really interesting about that is the idea that, you know, if people are using their phones and tablet devices while they're watching TV, and if these people are watching TV and they're watching programs that they're really interested in, you know, their X Factors, their football, their films, or their Apprentice, or whatever it might be, you know, if they're engaged in that program, are they going to be using their smartphone or mobile device at the point at which, say, the greatest bit of action is taking place, or just as Sugar's about to fire someone, or just as someone's about to score, or whenever it may be? Is that the time when they're using their smartphone or mobile or tablet device? No, it's not. I think it's much more likely to be during the advertising breaks. You know, the time when everybody thinks, oh, and now the adverts are on, I'll just stop and make a quick cup of tea or go to the toilet or wherever it might be. That's when people also think, oh, while I'm stopping for a moment, I might just put my latest thought out on the internet about what I've just been watching. Now, we don't necessarily think about that as business owners, but if we look at some of the other evidence, I'm sure you've noticed, or at least you will probably notice now I've mentioned it, that the most forward-thinking companies, the ones that are really aware of this social media phenomenon, are actually now putting their Facebook page up during those TV advert breaks. Because if you're spending hundreds and thousands and millions of pounds on advertising, and people are just disappearing off into their smartphones or mobile phones at that time, or tablet devices at that time, what do you want to encourage them to be doing? Well, if they're going on and using social networking sites, that's what you need to be encouraging them to doing, and that's why a lot of the businesses are putting forward their Facebook page on those ads at the end of the adverts instead of their website, because they know that then they're more likely to get the traffic. And this is the sort of thing that, you know, you need to be thinking about, and that only the best businesses are thinking about. The way people are using social media, the way people are using smartphone devices, tablets and so on, and being aware of the changes in the way people access the stuff they want, gain information, and the way it reaches them. You know, social media really is, you know, everything and everywhere. I mean, we mentioned Facebook and Twitter earlier, the major social networking sites, but you've got YouTube for people who like to share videos, you've got MySpace for music heads, you've got Flickr for people who like to share photos, you've got the likes of StumbleUpon and Delicious for people who like to bookmark or essentially curate information for other people, you know, those people who are going out and trying to find the most interesting articles. You've got blogging sites, you've got all sorts. You've got over 400 different social media platforms now. And of course, even Google is a social media site now. Google's been running scared of Facebook for the past couple of years. Facebook is now the most used site on the web. It's the most visited site on the web, and it's where the most time is spent on the web. And in fact, even YouTube has come up and taken its place as the second biggest search engine on the internet behind Google. Google's very aware of the change in the way people are using the internet and the movement towards more social. And as a result, it's just in the last week actually, as we speak at the start of July, released Google +1 and Google social profiles, where you're encouraged to join circles of friends within Google. So, Google was just the conduit between you and the information you wanted to get to. But now, even this big behemoth of the internet that nobody ever thought would run scared of anybody is suddenly very, very aware of the social nature of the web, of the fact that it's all about communities of like-minded people, or people who are interested in the same thing, and it's about the relationships you can build up with those people. That is what's going to be the strength in any business in the next few years. So social media really is everything on the public internet. It's in fact what the internet was designed for. Well, okay, the internet was designed for governments to talk to each other over long distances in secret, but as soon as it was sort of branched out from that, it really almost immediately started to become the social media web 2.0 type thing that we know today. Because really the idea of it, the principle of it, is getting information and sharing it out there for the general advancement and betterment of all of us. So social media really is everything out there, all the information, all the websites, all the social networks, all the photos, all the videos, everything that we can comment on and share with other people. And it's here to stay now. It's impossible for things to go backwards. Social media isn't a fad, or it isn't a passing fashion, or a short-lived trend. It is that evolution in the way we communicate. It's technology taking communication to an advanced level, allowing us to reach more people, allowing us to build a connection with them. And we just can't possibly go back. It's not to say that we're going to abandon email or using the phone or letters or face-to-face meetings. In fact, of course, those things will still have massive value as part of building better relationships with people. But social media really is going to take over our going out and building connections and building contacts activity. And it's the future of your business. I may have said it earlier in this section, and I'll say it again. In the next 3 to 5 years, social media is just absolutely going to take over. And you need to be involved now. Learn your lessons now. Get involved now, and be at the forefront in a couple of years' time when everyone else is sort of scrabbling to get on board. Now, I've just talked quite a lot about social media and hopefully explained a little bit more about what it is, which is essentially it's an evolution in the way we communicate and with each other. But I also wanted to break down a little bit into what social media, why is social media so popular? Why do you keep hearing so much about it from a sort of psychology standpoint? What is it about social media that makes it, like, I can't think of a good analogy here, almost like jam to a wasp, honey to a bee, whatever you want to call it. What is it why is social media so popular? Why has it come on so much? Why do you hear so much about it? Well, it appeals to some very basic needs that we all have. The first one is speed. We live in a very speed-based society now. Everybody wants the latest news now. They want to hear the snippets of gossip immediately. It's about now, the newest thing, the cutting edge, the latest trend, all of that. We want to know so soon. We wish we knew it yesterday. And social media very much taps into that. News breaks on Twitter now, even if people often go to websites to find out more about it. In fact, revolutions break out on Twitter because people can communicate so easily, so instantly. And of course, it's easy for everyone to participate, so there's that speed, but everyone can get involved because there's no cost of entry. For the vast majority of social media sites, there's no cost to get involved. At least no financial cost. There's a time cost. Now, of course, there can be a financial cost, and you can use a financial cost to reduce some of your time costs. We'll talk about that a bit later. The point is that anyone can get involved with social media. So, of course, people do, and everyone wants to have an opinion. Everyone does have an opinion, and everyone wants to tell other people their opinion. We very much like to tell people what we think. And get involved in conversation and debate, and join communities. And we want to find other people that think in the same way that we do. We want to build relationships and communities and groups, and that's another thing that social media does fantastically well. It allows us to reach out over massive areas. It allows us to connect disparate groups of people with common interests or similar passions or the same standards and values in life. And you know, we massively want to feel like we belong. We massively want to feel parts of communities. We massively want to feel involved. And social media helps us do that. It helps us build connections very, very easily. And of course, there's a sense that social media and the public internet is transparent. You can find out information on anybody. Nobody can hide behind anything. You can talk about anybody. And of course, it's very much true that nobody controls the output in the way that the traditional media was controlled by the big TV networks, or controlled by the big news stations, or controlled by the publishers. Now anybody can publish. You can go out and you can print your material and you can put it out into the public domain, and you really start from the same standpoint as anybody. With, you know, yes, money can give you some advantages, but actually if you're prepared to put in, if you're prepared to put in the work, then you stand as much chance as being a social media success as anybody else. Now, I said, I said that there's the sense of transparency, and it's not completely transparent. Of course, to a degree, some people control the conversation, and like in any type of conversation, whether it's happening, down the pub with a few mates, or whether it's happening on social media sites or on the internet, there'll be somebody who's considered to have a bit of authority who tends to control the way the conversation goes. Now, the thing with social media is it's quite a new media. So if nobody is, for example, very publicly the social media leader of your industry, there's a massive opportunity for you to be the person who controls the conversation about your industry. Okay, so there is transparency, and everybody has this opportunity to get involved. There's no barrier for participation. We can get things done very quickly, and you can build great relationships. So that is why you keep hearing so much about social media. And of course, the final thing is because it's not new. I mean, social media, probably the forerunner of social media, or the first aspect of social media that really came out in a big way, was blogging, which is, I think, coined as a word in 2005. So it's been around for about 6, maybe 7 years. Now, so social media is not a new thing. Blogging's been around for that long, and blogging was the first real form of social media, or self-publishing, or however you want to call it. It's since developed a lot since then. I mean, people who got in, a few years ago might be part of the early adopters, but we're now reaching the stage in the curve where we're at the early majority. And this is the time to really get involved, because we're going to be tipping over the curve, as I've said, in the next 2 or 3 years towards the late majority. And what you need to be doing is getting involved now, so that you can be at the forefront of this. As I said, you perhaps have the opportunity to really be the leader in your industry, and to really control the conversation, not control, but have a massive influence on the conversation that happens around your industry. So, social media is not a new phenomenon. It's not going to go away. Let's get you involved. But of course, if you're going to get involved in social media, you want to understand why it's so important for your business. And I think the best way for me to explain that is to compare it to traditional forms of media and advertising, and the way you used to go about selling yourself and your business. Because social media, it can, as I said, it's an evolution. It can be pretty much directly pegged to traditional forms of media. So the first form of social media is owned social media, and that equates to marketing. So your own social media are things like your website, your web pages, it's your digital products or your digital information online, it's your web apps or your mobile apps. Basically everything that you own and have complete control of. And it equates to your marketing material, because in the future you might have had, say, 100 brochures printed off and mailed them out to prospective customers, whereas now you've probably got a PDF brochure online, or a downloadable something on your website, so that people can just come and get that information. So it's directly equivalent to your old marketing material, but of course it's because of the way it's stored online, because it's downloadable. Again, it has those advantages that technology brings, where it's a bit more automated and it has a much lower cost. There's also your earned social media, which equates to traditional PR. Now, this is when other people talk about you. So this is when bloggers blog about you, or when somebody maybe does a video review of your product on YouTube, or maybe it's when somebody's talking about you on forums, or people are mentioning your services or products, or even just your industry on Twitter and Facebook and social networking sites like that. And I say it equates to PR, and when you think about it with all those social networking sites, it also equates to traditional word of mouth. Again, bringing all the advantages to PR and your old sort of referral and word of mouth marketing that technology brings. The fact that you can automate it a bit, the fact that you've heard about this going viral. I mean, messages get spread very, very quickly, and your network very immediately taps into other people's networks. So, you can really, really explode your PR and your word of mouth and your referral marketing again at a very low cost, and done sensibly with a limited amount of time put in. In fact, if you start thinking about social media replacing traditional media for marketing, PR, and indeed the third aspect we're going to talk about in just a second, advertising, you're potentially saving yourself a lot of time and money. So yeah, the third aspect of social media is paid social media, which equates to traditional advertising, and that's things like pay-per-click ads, it's banner ads, it's social ads like adverts that you can place on LinkedIn and Facebook, and it's also sponsorships. So you can get you can get adverts or your stuff put on other people's sites in the same way as you might have had advertorials in local magazines or papers in the past. So it's all of these things, and social media can do all of these things. It is all of these things. It is, and I say it again, it is just an evolution in the way we communicate, and for our business, when we're talking about our sales, the ways we traditionally communicated are through our marketing materials, our PR, and our advertising. And social media allows us to do all of those things from one place. It allows us to have more control over it, and it allows us to compete with far bigger companies who have far bigger budgets and far more people behind them. Simply because if it's done well, we can easily position ourselves as experts. And I'll talk a little bit more again about why, in just a little bit, about why I think you have a huge advantage as a small business owner and entrepreneur over big business. There's one more thing just worth mentioning that's sort of outside of just sales, why social media is so important for your business. And you might think it's unusual for me as a marketing consultant to say it's not just about the marketing, but it really isn't. There's a massive part of social media is the networking, and it's networking with people in your industry so you can learn best practice. It's networking with other business owners and entrepreneurs so you can understand, people who empathize with you can understand some of the challenges you face. It's even networking with potential new suppliers, and of course networking with clients. And some of this is done with business in mind, and some of it is done with pleasure in mind. I mean, when we think about organisations like the Business Club, where this presentation was first held, and also things like BNI and boot camps and all these sorts of things, business, Chamber of Commerce and Enterprise and all this sort of stuff. I mean, when we go along to these things, we do so partly and in fact largely when I speak to people, both who are members of these clubs and also to the guys and girls who own these clubs and societies. When I talk about why members are there, it's very often for sales, but actually there's a whole thing there about for pleasure and for the enjoyment of doing business and being in business, to spend time with other people who are in a similar position with you as you. As I said, sometimes to learn from them, sometimes to say you've got somebody who can empathise with you, and sometimes just so you've got somebody you can go out and have a good time with. That is a massive and perhaps sometimes unmeasured part of social media, and I'll talk about measuring a little bit later on as well. First of all, let's explore this big business advantage, or this advantage you have over big business. I think big business is slow, it's restricted, there are long decision-making chains. Everybody's got to stick their oar in, and that just doesn't work with social media. And I talked to you a bit earlier about how one of the major things about social media is the speed, and about how we all want to know now, and certainly. It might have been, say for example, if we think about social media in customer service terms. You know, years and years and years ago, what would you do if you had a problem with customer service? You'd either have to go into the place or write a letter, and it might take ages to respond. And then there's email, and suddenly you start expecting a response within, and phone, of course, you start expecting a response instantly, or at least within a few minutes. And social media has even speeded that up. You know, we really expect companies to be listening to us and responding to us dynamically. Big business can find that very difficult to do, but you're like this. And I don't mean you're going to bend over backwards to keep everyone happy. What I do mean is you're flexible and you're fast. You can move quickly, and of course, the other big thing is you really know your stuff and you care about your customers in a way that big business can't quite ever manage to do, because, you know, you will have to get involved in social media. You will have to be a part of your company's social media activity. You can't afford to just either financially, but in general terms, you can't afford to outsource and to automate everything that you do with social media. Because you're going to lose that personal touch. You'll lose that part of the business that is you. And of course, big business has some sort of, probably has some sort of social media, maybe a social media manager if they're very good, or it might just be some temp who's not paid particularly huge amounts, who sits on the end of their communication channels and deals with people who can't possibly know all the things about that big business as you know about your business, who can't possibly care as much about the customers as you care about your customers, because, you know, you probably know all your customers by name. You probably know exactly how much of an impact it would have on your business to lose one or two of your biggest customers. Of course, you're going to care more than big business. And big business has very strict social media rules. I'll run through them briefly here. I mean, big business social media rules say don't talk politics, don't talk religion. In fact, they pretty much say don't have an opinion at all on anything, because big business is scared of upsetting people. It's scared of tipping the apple cart or rocking the boat. You're different. You don't have rules, you have social media guidelines, and they're very briefly, don't just talk at people. That actually probably should be a rule. Social media is a conversation, it's dialogue, and you need to listen and respond. You can't afford to just go out and start shouting about what you do and all of your stuff, just as the same way as, if you got invited round to a party, you wouldn't go in and suddenly just start talking about your business and start trying to say, well, can I sell you X, Y, Z? It's just not the way things are done, and it's also not the way things are done when you gatecrash the social media party. You've got to listen, you've got to respond, and you've got to start at the bottom to become part of a group. Yes, you can talk about your stuff, but don't just do that. Get involved. Don't be aggressive, and also don't argue with or abuse people. Remember two things. First of all, remember that anything you put out on the internet now is pretty much permanent, and you could start using social media, and you could have a few weeks where you build up a community of fans, a community of people, customers who are interested in your stuff, and then after a few weeks you have one person who abuses you, and it will happen, because you can't make everybody happy in the world, whatever people try to think. I say, if you're not upsetting at least one or two people, then you don't really stand for anything. So you're not gonna please everybody, and you will get some stick, you will get some abuse at some point, you will get some complaints. But how you respond will define you. So the first thing you've got to remember is that everything's permanent. The second thing you've got to remember is that there's always a better way. Yes, you could be argumentative and abusive back. Yes, you could just ignore the message or try and delete it or censor what people are writing. But the best approach, and the one that causes the most wins on social media, is to actually engage with that. Even if somebody's personally abused you and said a bunch of things that aren't true, what about writing back, hey, thanks for coming on here and leaving a comment. I'm sorry you don't get along with me, or you don't get along with the things I do. You might have this viewpoint on what I do, but I think this. If we're going to disagree, we're going to disagree. But I still wish you all the best in everything you're going to do. And if there's ever any way I can help you, or if you ever think differently about me, please feel free to get back in touch. Now, I just come up with that on spot, and it's not a perfect response, but it is far, far better than being abusive or aggressive back. It is far, far better than ignoring it. It gives everybody else who can see that whole conversation going on, it gives everybody else the impression that you're prepared to engage with everybody and that you're relaxed about getting criticism, because hey, we're all going to get it. Because your final social media guideline is be yourself. Now this actually could negate everything that I've just written above, the other 3 points, because you really should be yourself. A big business can't talk about religion and politics and can't have an opinion, but who you are, what you believe in, what you like, what you love, what you do, that's part of the whole thing that makes you who you are, and it's what makes you special. It's what makes the business that you do special. So be yourself, and maybe, just maybe, you are a little bit argumentative or a little bit aggressive sometimes, and maybe you're going to do that on social media. And actually, even though I've said to a degree don't do that, it might be fine, because social media, as I said before, is about connecting with people who have similar thoughts to us, who have similar values to us, and you'll meet people who behave in that same way, and you'll communicate with them, and that's fine. Let's talk about the advantages of social media for you and your business. I mean, you've got reach. You can reach an enormous amount of people. You can access a massive network and other people's networks very, very quickly. You've got efficiency. You can automate, and you can outsource quite a lot of social media. Yes, as I've said, and I'll say again, you've got to be involved with it slightly, but it's a very efficient way of contacting people. You can do things like, for example, I've done this video recording of this presentation, and I can now put it online and send it out to you and lots of other people who might be interested in watching it. And it means I only have to record the presentation once, or in fact, if I'm honest, because I'm not brilliant at this, I've taken a few ticks. This could be another version. No, but say I've taken a few takes 4 or 5 times, but rather than doing the presentation lots and lots and lots of times in front of lots and lots of different people, I can now put it out and everybody can get it. So there's the reach of it, and there's the efficiency of doing it through social media. There's also impact, because it's, as I said, I'm doing this, I'm able to do this in a bit of a multimedia way. You can see the presentation, you can hear me talk. It has a great impact, and you can use that in social media. You can use video, you can use audio, and all these things to have a far greater reach and to do it more efficiently and to have that impact. In other words, social media really is you multiplied out, so you can impact more people's lives and serve more customers. That's ultimately what we want to do, isn't it? So what can I use social media for? Well, you can use social media to engage with your industry. That has advantages in that you can start to learn best practices, or start to understand what's going to be happening in the industry, what changes are upcoming, what are people talking about, what are people unhappy about, what can you solve. You can build your authority. You might become an expert within your industry. You might become the go-to person, the technology, social media person in your industry, who everyone turns to. And you can do that very quickly with social media. I mean, you can use social media to very quickly take over the internet and be perceived as the expert and a leader in your field. You can use social media to improve your customer service. As I said, customers might reach you through your social networks, they might reach you through your web pages, they might reach you through a whole host of ways. And of course, if they're using their social media channels all the time, if they're not using your website a lot, of course you need to be where people are spending their time, so you can communicate with them. And of course you can use this to improve customer service. There's market research. You can see live and dynamically what people are saying about your industry, about your service and products. You can respond to them immediately. You can make changes before you've produced the whole run. You can respond to things, and this is real market research as well. This is what people are actually saying about the industry, actually saying about your products and services live out online. And that's the difference. When traditionally, if you went out and did market research, say through a survey, people might answer whatever they wanted to answer to impress the nice looking young man or lady that was asking them the survey questions. But of course now nobody's trying to impress anybody. This is their actual feelings expressed to their networks about something that they're doing or products that they're using. And of course, if you're not doing these things, then the impact that will be the impact you'll be having is the opposite. If you're not engaging with your industry using social media, then of course the impact is that you're slowly disengaging, you're slowly losing touch with your industry, what the best practices are, what people think about the industry and what's happening. You're slowly losing your respect and authority with your industry because you're not producing new material, new content. You're not at the forefront of the industry, and people are looking at others and what they're doing. You're losing impact with customer service because other people are out there taking advantage of the fact that they can help more customers and more quickly and in more different ways using social media, and you look like you're falling behind, especially if the phone isn't always answered immediately or emails aren't always responded to straight away. And you're falling behind in market research because you're not getting the live information about your industry. You're not seeing what people are saying about your products and services. You're relying on sort of second-hand feedback, or maybe you're relying on seeing what happens after a few months, and you're not at the head of the curve. So if you're not doing these things, the impact is huge loss of opportunity and income. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to commit to using social media. And you need to commit to using social media, and you need to commit to doing it properly. Okay, it's not about just dabbling with it. It's not about saying, oh, I'll open up a Facebook account and just see how it happens. It's about committing to saying, no, I'm going to look at social media. I'm going to look at how it integrates with everything I'm doing, with my marketing, my advertising and PR, and I'm going to really take this on and really use it to its maximum possibility in my business. The way to start doing that is to set some social media goals. I want to talk a little bit about both social media goal setting, measuring what you're doing, and of course, looking at your returns on your investment. Now, most people, I think, do struggle to fit all this together. When you're setting social media goals, you want to be thinking about what do you want to do. Now, it can be many focuses, or it can be one. So your first focus might be, I want to network with more business owners. That's fine, that's one target. It might be, I want to go out and reach all the leaders in my industry so that I can sort of learn the best practices. That's fine. And it might be, I want to make more sales. And all of those things are fine. It might be a combination of all of those things. It might indeed be all three of those things and more. So you've got to think about what you want to do, and you've got to think about who do you want to do it. Like I said, are you going to be trying to reach clients to make more sales? Are you going to be trying to reach people in your industry so you can build partnerships, or is it because you want mentors? Are you going to try and reach suppliers? Who do you want to reach with social media? And what do you want to get out of it? I mean, what do you want to do? Network, sales, whatever. What do you want to get out of it? Is it authority? Is it best practice? Is it more money? And then, of course, you've got to think about how you're going to measure this activity. And a massive mistake that I find that people make is they say they want to do one thing and they measure something else. So people look at social media and say, well, I've invested so much in social media and I was hoping I was going to make more sales. I found out that I've got a few hundred more followers and a few hundred more fans on Facebook, and I've got several more subscribers to the blog. And I'm quite pleased with that. And I'm like, well, if all you wanted to do was make more sales, then the only thing you have to look at to measure is your bank balance. And of course, ideally, you want to look at social media a little bit more holistically like that than that. A quick note on social media ROI from a very clever guy called Albert Einstein, and I tend to listen to what clever guys say. He once said that not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. I think that's a critical point in social media. How do you, in a short period of time, put a value on a relationship with somebody, for example? Now, I've started relationships with people 2 or 3 years ago in business that maybe only just coming into fruition, and maybe now are resulting in 5-figure, 6-figure deals. But if I'd have only dabbled in social media and spent a couple of months and looked at my results and gone, well, my sales haven't gone up, and I've spent $1,000 or maybe a couple of grand on doing social media or more, and my sales haven't increased, so do you know what, I'm just going to can it. But we've got to think about social media in a more holistic way, in a more integrated way, if we're going to get the most out of it. Fair warning, being successful on social media isn't easy. I'd like to think I could make it a bit more simple for you, but being successful on social media isn't easy, and there are things you need to be prepared for. The first thing you need to be prepared for with social media is it will take time and it will take money. Okay? You don't want to put all of your time into social media, right? Which means you are going to have to invest some money in either learning how to do it yourself while putting the minimum effort into it, or teaching your staff how to do it, or in outsourcing it so that there is something happening for you with social media. And you need to invest in certainly in putting together a plan for it. Maybe you do want to put in time into it, but if you're going to invest your time into it, it's going to take a lot. Just your time into it, it'll probably take a fair bit of time. You will have to invest some time in it. There might be some people thinking, well, maybe I could just outsource the whole thing, and then I don't have to worry about putting any time, and it doesn't have to take up any of my week. I'm busy enough as it is. Look, believe me, I get that. But the thing is, if you're not putting the time and effort into social media, then you're losing a massive amount of potential impact, because you're the key person. You know your stuff, you care. We talked about this earlier. You're the one who has the passion for what you do. So, you want to take advantage of the impact that will have. Okay. Again, to repeat the point, you're going to have to be social. First of all, you'll have to be involved, and also it's not just going to be a case of you putting your message out. You've got to talk to people, and you've got to help people out. Imagine that social media, there's like a whole contribution thing going on, almost like a social bank, and you have to go out and make deposits. By helping people out, you go out and make deposits. Answer people's questions. If somebody's got a problem, try and give them a solution, and you're making deposits into a bank of social goodwill, because at one point you're going to want to make withdrawals from that. You're going to want people to promote your stuff. You're going to want people to buy your stuff, and if you expect people to do that, there's got to be some reciprocation. It's got to be a give and take relationship. You've got to be social. You will make mistakes doing this. You will make mistakes. You might spend a bit too much time or money. You might try and you might be too giving or too demanding when you first go online. You might be aggressive or abusive, as we said earlier. You might upset somebody. You will make mistakes, but I promise you, you will learn from them, and they will make you better if you stick with it. And the final thing you need to be prepared for is the fact that social media means integration. It means every aspect of what you're doing out there on the public web. It means your website, your mobile, it means your Facebook, it means all this stuff coming together so that you take advantage of your owned media, your paid media, and your earned media. You're taking advantage of all of these channels. They're working together, and they're leveraged for the greatest impact. Now, I hope that without all this, I've not just left you in a bit of a social media spin. I know there's a lot of stuff there. I hope that what I've done with a lot of this presentation has helped to clear up a bit about what social media really is. But of course, it can still be confusing, and at this point, you still need to know, after setting some goals, how you can really move forward. We want to help you at Simple Online Marketing. We want, and at the Business Club, we've come together to do a bit of a joint venture to try and help people who are either just getting started in social media, or who have dabbled and don't really or know they aren't using it to the greatest effect yet. We want to help you do social media better, so that you can take advantage of this new technology and be successful. What we've done is we've worked together to put together what we're calling a social media launchpad. It's a workshop that will really launch you into the social media world, get you properly started, get you involved, and just introduce you to this technology and this phenomenon in the right way, so that you know what to do. You understand how to get started, how to use it, and how you might go about using it to, as I said, get those connections, get your marketing done, get your PR out, get people talking about your business, which is what we want. So the Social Media Launchpad, as I said, it's going to cover how to start, where to start, should it be Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, so on, what to do. So, like, what do I post? What content do I put out? I don't get social media. We're going to tell you that, and we're going to also tell you how to work smarter. We're going to help you out, so you've got the tools to make it easier for you to use social media without having a major impact, on that having a major impact on what you do already. We understand that you're busy, and we know that you want to get involved in social media, but you want to do it in the most sensible, the most efficient, and the smartest way. And crucially, we want to teach you how to build better and stronger relationships. That's what it's really all about. That's what the key thing really is. We want to teach you to build better relationships, because better relationships with your customers means they buy more things from you more often, and they stay with you for longer. And that's what we want. So you want to be better at building better. You want to be better at those building relationships, and also at making those connections. We'll cover all of that. We won't let you leave that workshop, that Launchpad workshop, without a social media plan. You need an idea of what you're going to be doing. You need a content strategy as well, so that you know what messages you're going to be putting out, and how you can create that content. Maybe you're wondering, oh, I don't really know what I would tweet, or I don't know what I'd write on my Facebook page. Fine, we want to give you a plan for doing that, and we want to give you a strategy for how to create content and how to put it out through social media. We also want to help you firm up your goals and your targets and your ways to measure it, and make sure, as I said, that you're measuring things in the right way. So, if your goals are to make more connections and to make more sales online, are you measuring your connections? Are you offering people the way to buy online through social media, and are you directing traffic that way? Do you have it all in place? We will make sure that you know how this fits in, and how it all integrates together, as I said, which is such an important thing. And we will also agree to support you as you start. I think, we've talked to lots of business owners about social media, and there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of concern about it. And actually, as well as wanting a bit of an education, as well as people wanting to be shown what to start off with, they also want to have their hands held a little bit. So what we're also going to do is, for the first few weeks after the workshop takes place, we're also, through forums and through the social media accounts we'll help you set up, and through webinars, we're going to support you, so you get the opportunity to ask questions to us directly. You won't just be here's how you do stuff, now go on and do it. It's going to be, we're here afterwards when you've got questions. Come back to us, let us know what's going on, let us help you, let us show you what you're going wrong, let us help you out. So the support is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of time put into creating the workshop, and indeed to following up afterwards with the workshop, to make sure that it really delivers value for you. So I think this should be very expensive. And what I'm trying to do is, we're trying to develop a product that we can take out and sell for sort of £200 as the workshop, with a more automated support. And that's certainly what we're intending to do outside of the business club environment, because it's going to be focused on your business. We're going to leave you with a clear path to follow, so you know what you're doing, and we're going to give you the ongoing support for the few weeks after that, so that if you ever have any concerns, you can come back to us and we'll help out. But of course, this is a venture that we're doing joint with the business club. We want to make it very, very easy access. In fact, we want you guys to be the sort of the pioneers, the people who come along and help us make this workshop great, because and we want you to be the success stories. So we try to make it as cheap as we possibly can. The business club offer, and it's not going to be available outside of business club, is sort of it's for a half-day workshop, 4 hours in length, on Friday the 2nd of September between 8:30 and 12:30. It's at the lovely Orton Hall Hotel. It's a really nice location. Now it's going to be offered at £69 per person, and that's if we're buying through the business club, but that's the non-members price. Brian wanted to have an even better deal for business club members, and I think that's right. We want to support business club members as well, being part of it. So we want to do that for £49. So that's the workshop for 4 hours, all the support, everything afterwards. Also, I mentioned before that social media is quite an all-encompassing thing, and it's something that you should be thinking about within your whole business. And it might be the case that, having heard all of that and having thought about social media before, you're thinking, yeah, it's also something that I need my staff to be aware of. It's something that their employees, maybe you personally don't want to put, or couldn't imagine being able to put the time into social media, and you think, oh yeah, there are 1 or 2 of my staff members that I think could really benefit from understanding more about social media. And the chances are you've your staff probably use social media at work anyway, so why not, why not tap into that? Why not make them feel more part of the business by getting them to talk about your business using social media? If you want to bring another person from your business along, you get 50% off off the ticket price. So if you're a member, it's $24.50, and if you're a non-member, it's $34.50 to bring another person along from your business. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I hope you found it useful, and I really hope to see you at the Social Media Launchpad workshop on the 2nd of September as well. I know that you're going to get a huge amount of value out of it. I mean, we're working really hard to just massively over-deliver on the value on that, because we want it to be a spectacular success. We want to get great feedback, and we want to create a few success stories. Because we want to offer quite a bit of support on the end of it, we're going to limit the attendance to just 50 spots. That's 50 spots total, so not 50 businesses. I think we had somewhere around 20 odd businesses sign up on the night of the presentation. I think a few of those will be bringing staff members along as well. So we've probably got half of the places still available. If you wanted to come along to the workshop, please call the business club now on 01733 513 003. That's 01733 513 003 to book your spot. They'll be able to sort you out with a form, and you can sort all the details out with them. It's going to be a fantastic workshop. I really hope to see you there. I hope this presentation has taught you, you've learnt a little bit about social media and you understand it a bit more. And as I say, I really look forward to seeing you in September. Thanks for now, and we'll speak soon.